Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play this video and talk about things that are going on, and better explain what's going on, and talk about things that I think that are being done right and or done wrong. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Sergeant Melissa Solis with the Phoenix Police Public Affairs Bureau. The information, audio, video, and pictures you're about to see are intended to provide details as we currently understand them of an in-custody death that occurred on September 3rd, 2022. This video may contain strong language as well as graphic images, which could be disturbing to some people. Viewer discretion is advised. This incident occurred in the area of 27th Avenue in Van Buren when Phoenix police received multiple calls about a man trying to enter homes, hitting his head on walls, falling over, and acting erratic. Here are some portions of the first 911 call. A Spanish interpreter service is used to translate the information.
They're on the line. Please ask where the emergency is.
Hola, ¿seré su intérprete? ¿Cuál es su emergencia?
Pues estoy llamando porque alguien quiso romper la puerta de mi casa.
I'm calling because somebody tried to break the door of my house.
Ya pasó hace como 2 minutos pasó. Él se fue porque le dije, get out here de my home. Le dije que se fuera de mi casa. Pues no sé si anda drogado, no sé qué problema.
This happened about 2 minutes ago, and I yelled at him from the inside, get out of my home, from the inside, and I'm not sure if he's on drugs or something, but he ran away.
Here are several...
Okay, so interpreter lines. This is something that has to be used sometimes with, so many different people all across the world living here in America. And my first time using an interpreter line, I did not know the correct etiquette, I guess you could say, of how to use the interpreter line. I called the interpreter line, had a person didn't speak English, and they were someone that I legitimately believe did not know English. Some people will fake it, and but this one didn't know a lick of it. So I forgot how I figured out what he was too. It was some domestic. I think it was the girlfriend had mentioned where he's from. Or maybe it was the mother, because it was a pregnant girl. No, it was... Shit, I forgot now. But anyway, figured out what he was, and then I was able to figure out who I needed from the interpreter line. And I talked to the interpreter, and I said, ask him, whatever. And they said, oh, that's not how we do this. I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, just talk to him like normal, like you would to anyone else, and when you get done talking, I will translate what you said. And they do that so that the person, that you're having to talk to doesn't feel degraded in any way. They don't, feel like lesser of a person or whatever. I kind of get that, but at the same time, it's kind of a long and tedious process on certain things, so it could be a whole lot simpler. Be like, ask them this, I just need to know this, or you explain it to that person and they can word it in a way that is better in that language, because sometimes the English wording and phrases and stuff doesn't match up with whatever. And it would, you talking to the interpreter, you tell them what you want, they would know how to best ask that or whatever. But anyway, if you've never used an interpreter line, that's how they talk. So they basically just do exact word for what that person's saying. Unless they don't know that word, then they have to take time to type up what it is. So some interpreter services are could be governmental. It could be something that the state runs, or is a contract company that a government contracts with. Company ABC, XYZ, whatever, does interpreting services, and that is who you call. And then there's some forms of government, it's the actual branch of government that you use, so like courts and stuff. Sometimes they'll have their own interpreters they're hired there, but other courts will also use a contract company as well. Anyway, moving on.
Inside, and I'm not sure if he's on drugs or something, but he ran away.
Here are several selections from the second 911 call.
Phoenix 911, where is your emergency?
Yes, hi. I will need the police escorted to Phoenix, Arizona, 85009. There is a guy here in front of my apartment. He's trying to get into the apartment. He looks like he's really out of it.
Okay, is he trying to get into a particular apartment door, or where is he trying to get in at?
He was trying to go into my apartment, and then he tried to go into my mom's apartment. My husband's trying to keep him calm, but he just keeps going up to people.
Hearing some raised voices. Is that him yelling, or what's going on?
He just keeps he told my husband, because he was like, do you want me to call the firefighters? Because he looks like he's really tripping out on something, and he says no. But you could barely hear him mumbling.
2 officers arrived on scene and found the man, later identified as Enrique Cantu III, outside in a residential area, hunched over on his knees. Here is a portion of the officer's body-worn camera.
Hey man, what's going on today?
The officers grabbed a hold of Cantu's arms. He resists and is placed on the ground.
Stretch your legs out. Stretch your legs out. Relax, man. Trying to help you out. Right?
From here, he is detained by using 2 sets of handcuffs. The officers try to stand him up, but he does not comply. He is
All right, so back this up just a little bit.
but he does not comply.
All right, this is why I do not like the practice of using 2 cuffs on someone. He is not that big of a guy. Like, there are some people who are so obese, you literally do have to use 2 pair of handcuffs, because there's no way you can get their wrist close enough for 1 pair to work. They're just so fat. This guy's not. He's not that fat. He's not big. Look how much movement he has. This one arm, his hand's right here, and his other hand is pressing down into the ground. If this dude had a gun or weapon to the front of his waistband, he could very easily take one hand around to the front and get it. So unless it is absolutely physically impossible to use 1 pair of cuffs on someone, don't fucking use 2 pair of cuffs on someone. Did I say that right, or I just checked that up? Yeah, if 1 pair of cuffs can go on a person, use 1 pair of cuffs. Do not use 2 pair of cuffs. It just gives them way too much range of movement.
He is moved to his side in the recovery position, and the fire department is called to evaluate his condition.
Try to get up, man.
The recovery position allows for an open airway when a person is breathing on their own. It also...
I'm glad they went into that, because I was about to say something about the lateral recumbent position. So I'll back this up just a little bit more so we can see this from the beginning again.
The officer's body-worn camera.
Hey man, what's going on today?
And then boom, it just goes right at him.
The body-worn camera.
Hey man, what's going on today?
So this starts extremely quick. They get him down. They don't use a whole lot of force. They just basically manhandled him down to the ground, and then put cuffs on him. So no need for a taser or anything like that. Taser, if they were having some more difficulty gaining control of him, then yeah, I'd say definitely taser. But I'm glad taser wasn't used on this, because he does end up dying. Obviously, this is an in custody death. But the reason why I'm glad they didn't use a taser on him is because if they had used a taser on him, then people would be losing their fucking minds and be like, oh, the taser killed him, the taser killed him, the taser killed him. And that's what happens every single fucking time one of these people jacked up on drugs ends up dying when there's a taser involved. The people start screaming, oh, they electrocuted him to death. Blah, 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 blah. The tasers do not fucking kill people. The joules that come out of it, the amperage, are so incredibly low. There's just no physical way. You could keep pulling the battery, like put a 100% battery in a taser, pop somebody with it, and keep pulling that trigger until you drain the battery dead. They're still not going to die from it. How people die when tasers are involved is A, they fall and hit their head, or B, it's excited delirium. They are hopped up on drugs, they're fighting, their adrenaline's up, heartbeat's up, and they go into cardiac arrest. Now this would be impossible to prove, but I do think that there are some people out there who maybe were not on drugs, but they weren't in the greatest health, and they had a bad health / fear-induced heart attack. But the bulk of it is these people are on drugs. They're basically ODing in custody, and before they finally died, a taser was used on them. But everyone just gravitates towards, taser is so bad it electrocutes people. And that's not what's going on. It's the bulk of them, they're people who are on drugs and they're ODing. But anyway, just saying I'm glad they didn't use taser. Or else people would be blaming the taser on it. Anyway, going back.
This is the preferred position, if possible, when waiting for medical personnel. This is the preferred...
For you people who are still, drinkers out there going to the bars and clubs and getting smashed and all that, this is a great position to put your drunk friends in when they pass out. Right? When they're on their side like that, vomit will ooze out of the open mouth. There have been lots of people who passed out on their back and then they choked to death on their own vomit. Aspirated their own vomit. Drowned in vomit. Like that'd be a shitty way to go, right? So aside from people who are, in a seizure or after a seizure, you put people in this kind of position, for the drunks and everything who've passed out, this is a good position for them to be in. If there's a suspected spinal injury, then of course you don't want to make those kind of movements. But if you can have some people there, maintain C-spine, try to keep the back as in line as possible, you can perform a log roll, just the same as you would do a log roll to put someone onto a spine board, and have them on their side. That way, fluid can drain out of their mouth. But that's only if there's an issue with bleeding or something like that, and you're worried about them drowning in that stuff. Otherwise, if they have a suspected spinal injury, you would not put someone in a position like this. You would just let them stay on their back. If you know how to maintain C-spine, do that. And then you can do a modified jaw thrust to keep the airway open. Because you can't do a head tilt chin lift for someone who has a possible spinal injury. Anyway, rambling. Moving on.
Third position, if possible, when waiting for medical personnel.
We got fire coming for you. Hi, Mom. You guys all okay?
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Put him on
Yeah, he's been trying to get into people's houses for the last little bit.
Check his pulse.
Yep, you're not the first.
Check his pulse.
Alright. I say he's got it. Yeah, he's got it. Just keep him here in the recovery position until fire gets here. George, work with
Approximately 5 minutes later, the Phoenix Fire Department arrived on scene.
Hey guys. Guy's acting just pretty erratic here. He's found some blues, drugs, and...
All right. Now, let's say the police were not the first ones to get there. Let's say the fire department got there and start dealing with him. Unless he did something to actually require the police to come out and take him into custody or anything like that, then the fire and EMS would be dealing with him. And if he died while under the care of the fire and EMS, we would never see this video. There would be no need for it. It would just be a simple OD. But because he has handcuffs on, the police have detained him, this video is being done because it's an in-custody death. Remove the police interaction, and no one seems to fucking care about this. But because he was in custody of police, and people get in their feelings about police, it gets all blown out of proportion. Thousands of people like this die every fucking year. Some in police custody, a lot of them don't. Or a lot of them are not in police custody. We never see any body cam footage from fire departments or EMS crews when they get a hold of someone who's on drugs and shit and they die while under their care in the ambulance. Stuff like this, although it's interesting to watch, I just don't think that all the hoopla is completely necessary to have to take the time and energy to produce a video like this. All they got to do is just you make a news release and say, yeah, this dude was he was on this and this is how he died. But because there are people out there who make shit up and insinuate that the police caused his death, oh, he was a person of color. The police killed him. The police have to end up doing this to prove to the public, hey, we didn't do shit to this guy, rather than put him in handcuffs.
Position there. Keeps flowing around a little bit. Not even speaking English. Okay, so I'm answering any questions as far as who it is.
Sir, can you hear me?
Pulse seems a little fast, but...
Relax. What's your name?
Fire continued to provide medical evaluation and aid while on scene.
Relax.
Relax, man. You're okay. Relax, you're okay.
A couple minutes later, firefighters realized Cantu's condition is deteriorating. His handcuffs were removed to better provide medical care. After the handcuffs were removed, life-saving measures were rendered, and he was taken to a local hospital where he died. The cause and manner of death will ultimately be determined by the Office of the Medical Examiner. The officers involved in this incident are assigned to the South Mountain Precinct and have approximately 3.5 years of service with the department. This incident is the subject of both an internal and criminal investigation, which will be reviewed by the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. Conclusions about whether the actions of the officers are consistent with the department policy and the law will not be made until all the facts are known and the investigation is complete.
This video was intended to inform and educate the public about a critical incident in our community. You can learn about the Phoenix Police Department's transparency policy on our website.
Which will be reviewed by the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. Conclusions about whether the actions of the officers are consistent with the department policy and the law will...
Hey man, what's going on today?
Alright, so we'll freeze frame it right there. So I'm trying to do a search on this. It being in September, time of recording right now is November 10. So the information about his toxicology and stuff should already be done. Like, it's not going to take that long for results to come back. But it does not appear as though the news either cared to follow up with this and find out what it was, or the police just dropped the ball on notifying the public on what the hell it was that caused him to die. All the articles I'm seeing from September 3rd, September 4, September 4, and then YouTube, September 16. That one doesn't even have a date. September 3rd and 4. Yeah, so I don't see anything when I do a search for this guy's name and cause of death. Nothing's picking up. I would say that he most likely died from a drug overdose. And I would say that most likely fentanyl was involved in this, or some type of opioid was involved in this. Even though I don't see anything that talks about it, that's what my suspicion is going to be. Yeah, I don't see anything else indicating any more information. I really don't. I mean, when they did their video for this, it was September 16th. So this occurred on September 3rd. They did their video on the 16th. Obviously, at that point when they did the video, they wouldn't have known most likely. But at this point, it should be known. And you would think that they would do a follow-up and put that out there, like, hey, this is what this guy died from, but for whatever reason, it's not there. So that's where we're going to have to end with, is not knowing. But like I said, based off, everything I've seen and how this lines up with other stuff, he's most likely dying from an overdose. It's most likely fentanyl or some type of opioid. This happens a lot. Like I said, this happens a lot. I guess you could say it's like an epidemic, opioid deaths. And a lot of them, there's no police interaction beforehand or during it. They go fucking berserk like this sometimes. No one calls. Sometimes they do it within their own home. They do crazy shit, and then they fall over and they fucking die, and then they get found later on. And like I said, when EMS gets to these people, fire gets to these people, and they're still breathing, and they render care to them, they still end up dying, boom. You don't see videos being done. The only reason why this video exists is because of bullshit people out there making shit up about the police and insinuating that, police kill people of color. And the police have to release footage like this to prove that they didn't do anything. Otherwise, they'd be like, this is useless footage in a way. Like I said, it's interesting to watch, but it's kind of useless. Alright, if you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.